What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Spanko, and today I'm bringing you guys another True Draco deck profile. I know I've been doing a lot of True Draco recently, but I swear to God, man, every time I do a deck profile, I was like, wait, you can also play True Draco this way, or you can play True Draco that way. So, yo, I'm sorry for this, but trust me, I think this deck is very cool, and I think it's one of those things where I feel like people forgot about Numeron and this whole package, and I kind of understand why. The logic behind it was kind of like, hey, okay, Zexal is really good, but once your turn runs out, or once your Zexal runs out, what are you supposed to do afterwards? Because a lot of decks that used to play this, something like Eldritch Numeron, would kind of make this board, but since they can't OTK their opponent would just wait out Zexal and then end up playing after Zexal anyways. So that's why I was kind of thinking, I was like, man, True Draco has the potential to play the Numeron package, but then do a lot of damage with the True Draco monsters as well, rather than in some other decks like Altergeist or Eldritch, where you can set up this Zexal, but really what do you have after that, right? So I just thought this was a really cool combination. A lot of stuff synergizes really well, and so I thought this was really cool. So we're gonna get into the profile, but before we do, I noticed that like 80 something percent of you, I think it's like 87% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. What are you guys doing? Hit your boy up, subscribe to the channel, make sure to support. The goal for 2020 was 5,000, and I swear we can get it done if even half of the viewers subscribe. So 87% is a lot of you guys, so make sure to subscribe if you guys enjoy the videos. If you guys like the videos, just make sure to subscribe, help your boy out, supports me, supports the channel, supports the community, and I want to grow with you guys, so let's make it happen. I don't want to see no 87 no more. We can get that done. All right, so now off to the deck profile. We are playing one Dynamite Knight, triple Ignis, as well as one Majesty Maiden. I just wanted to keep it small, didn't want to max out on this. Really, the only reason I'm playing Majesty is because we have one Dynamite Knight. If we had a second Dynamite Knight, I wouldn't even be playing Majesty, but because we don't, I have to play the one, because you need to be able to see your True Draco monsters, so playing too many is not good, but playing too little is bad, so that's why I think 5 is the perfect amount. And the reason you don't want to play too many is because you are playing Lilith. And now Lilith is amazing for this deck, synergizes super well with the Numeron package. On top of that, it is your best starter. Turn 1, when you start off the game, you summon Lilith, you're going to activate her effect. It's one of the best combos you have. And when I say combo, I don't mean combo, it just means starter. And the reason she's one of the best starters is because she gets herself off the field for Numeron Network. Now, if you guys don't know what I mean by that, it's pretty much that Numeron Calling says that you have to have no monsters to activate the effect. And obviously, Numeron Network is going to copy the effect of Calling. So you need no monsters on your side of the field, right? What Lilith does for you is when you normal summon her, right, you can activate her effect, where you can tribute a dark monster, which means you can tribute herself first, and then you can reveal 3 trap cards to your opponent, 3 normal trap cards I should mention, so that's why we're playing the Imperm, the Ice Dragon's Prison, as well as the Metaverse, and then your opponent randomly chooses one of them and it sets it to your side of the field. So 2 things it does for you. 1, it gets itself off the field so that you can activate your network, and 2, it gets a trap card for you that could potentially help you either extend your plays with Metaverse or disrupt your opponent with Ice Dragon's Prison or Imperm. So this card is insane. Your best starter card, your best normal summon turn 1, it's one of your best cards, synergizes super well. We are playing double Numeron wall as well. Now I could play triple, but I decided to play 2 only to put in the Metaverse. I just put in the Metaverse because I thought, man, Diagram is too important in this deck, and I'll explain why it's really important, but I just wanted to put in the Metaverse because if I get this off of the Lilith, we're in a really good spot as well, right? So that's why I decided to play this, and I only played the 2 wall because obviously we're still maxing out on triple network. So then off to the spell cards, I mean, we might as well. We are playing triple Extravagance. There's no reason to not play this card. Now I know this extra deck here you guys might be seeing, I'm just playing 3 of everything. Now, the reason for that is, 1, because Extravagance becomes pretty much free. There's no reason to not play this card. But 2, because with the True Draco, there's nothing else you really want to go into. So I just decided to max out on all 3 of them, because the idea kind of here is to make your Zexal turn 1, and then you can get rid of your Zexal with something like Diagram. And then what you can do is use your network. If you have a second network, let's say, you can use a network to summon these back and then OTK your opponent. So that's kind of where I was going with this deck. It's one of those things where a lot of decks don't have ways to out the Zexal, like once they summon their own Zexal to OTK their opponent. So it's kind of like, hey, I think we could do it in True Draco, because in True Draco, you can pop the Zexal straight with the Diagram. Or if one of your trap cards gets destroyed, you can pop the Zexal with one of your trap cards, and then you have a free empty field again. Now, once you have an empty field, you can activate Network again, and boom, you get all these, and you can potentially OTK your opponent. So that's kind of why I was thinking, hey, True Draco synergizes really well with this. Now, we are playing 1 Terraforming specifically for the Diagram. We do have Numeron Wall for Network. unless we need the network in a specific situation. So obviously terraforming is great because you can search either, but more so for the diagram, because Numeron network I feel like is going to be a little bit easier to get into with the Numeron wall, as well as just playing 3 of this in itself, right? So that's why I just want terraforming. I mean, it's at 1, unfortunately. If it was at more than 1, you'd definitely be playing more than 1. Playing double Numeron calling, obviously, for the Numeron package, triple heritage, as well as triple disciples. I think this is all standard lineups for your spell cards. I don't think there's anything you really want to change here. It's all standard. On top of that, network, again, like I said, is really good, using it twice. The first time for the Zexal, the second time for your OTK play. So you really want to max out on this. And of course, diagram is really important. 1, because it's a true Draco card, but 2, because it actually outs your own Zexal so that you can make the OTK play with network again, right? So that's why diagram is just really good, and you really got to play this. And it's one of those things where I only played Metaverse. That's how important it is, that I only played Metaverse for the diagram. So you really want to get into this as fast as possible. For the trap cards, we are playing cards, of course, that synergize really well with Lilith, and I'm playing the most impactful trap cards in the game, in my opinion, at the moment, which is 3 Infinite Impermanence, as well as 3 Ice Dragon's Prison. These cards are really good. Ice Dragon's Prison is insane against PK, insane against Orcus, insane against Dino. This card is so good, and being able to just search it for free off of Lilith is insane. And then obviously if you open one of these, you can obviously search the Imperm. If you open like 1 Imperm, 1 Ice Dragon's Prison, the thing is you can just reveal like 2 Imperm and 1 of these. Like you can reveal any mix, right? Because your opponent is going to choose it at random, or at that point you're going to reveal Metaverse if you need to get to your Metaverse too. So that's why I thought Lilith was so good in this deck, and because you're playing such impactful trap cards, that you're in such a good position. Once you set up Zexal and then you're playing these really important trap cards, then it's like, okay, so even if you don't out your own Zexal and Zexal runs out, it's like, okay, your opponent might be thinking, okay, I can finally play now. It's like, well, can you? Because I also set up an Imperm, or I also set up an Ice Dragon's Prison, plus I have some True Draco cards. Like, that's where this deck I think is really good, and it actually beats a lot of the other Numeron builds, like Numeron Geist or Numeron Eldritch. That's why I just thought this deck was really good, because just the way it synergizes all together is just a lot more consistent, I would say, but also a lot more offensive based, right? Because obviously Zexal is the ultimate defensive card, but it's a lot more offensive based with the True Draco card. So that's why I thought this was really good. And then I am playing triple There Can Only Be One. Now I need to explain this card. This card doesn't synergize with the Numerons at all. They're all machine monsters. If you have this flipped up, you can't use your Numeron cards, and that's why I said diagram is really important. Now I was thinking what other floodgates you could play. Skill Drain is an option. Soul Drain is another good option because PKs, Orcus, stuff like that is running around. So Soul Drain is another good option. Skill Drain, Unending Nightmare is pretty good, but you do have your spell cards, which is going to get rid of back row for you anyways. So you could really play any continuous card. I decided to play There Can Only Be One, even though it does synergize with the Numerons, because 1, diagram is outsit. So that's why, again, like I said, diagram is very important, because if you have this flipped up and you see a potential play where you can OTK your opponent with network, you can just diagram pop There Can Only Be One, search something, activate your network, and then OTK your opponent from there. So that's an option for you. 2, you could just tribute over it with a True Draco card. Now obviously that doesn't really work with the Numeron stuff because you're going to have a monster on the field, but if you do really need to get this card off your field, then you can just tribute over it. But 3, I just thought like, hey, your combo and your plays are not always going to work, right? Let's say your network gets cycloned or something happens. Like let's say your combo doesn't go through. Setting There Can Only Be One a lot of the time, if you flip it, could just be auto-win against so many decks. A lot of the meta, like I said now, is going to be like PK, BA, Orcus. We got just so many of the meta decks, so many of the best decks. Dino is another good one. There Can Only Be One completely shuts those decks down. So that's why I was thinking, I was like, hey man, I can't always rely, even though you want to obviously make it as consistent as possible, which I thought this deck was, to make the Zexal, even though it is that consistent, you can't always end up making it, whether your opponent has hand traps, whether your opponent has spell removal, whatever it is. Sometimes you can't make this board. So I was thinking, man, There Can Only Be One is so impactful that if I just flip it against my opponent, a lot of the time they might just pass. Like they just might not be able to play. So that's why I thought There Can Only Be One is just one of those cards that, even though it doesn't synergize with the Numeron specifically, is just so good. And because you have space to play it, I would 100% play it. Then we're playing 1 True King's Return as well as Triple Apocalypse. This is kind of standard as well. I should mention with There Can Only Be One, if you guys really don't like this card, you guys can play more normal traps. And the reason I say that is because you do have your spells and your True Draco traps anyways for your True Draco monsters. So you don't necessarily need all these continuous cards. The thing is, again, like I said, There Can Only Be One is just really impactful. But if you wanted to, you could change these out for just normal traps so that you have more options with Lilith. That's really up to you though, but I just thought There Can Only Be One is just too good. And then for the extra deck, we're just playing 3 of all the Numeron monsters except for the boss monster, as well as 3 Zexal. I just thought, you know, you don't need anything else in your extra deck here. You might as well just play 3 of everything. You could cut everything to 2, technically, if you really wanted to. Play 2 of all of them, and then play some super poly targets and put super poly in your side deck. That's another option for you. But for the main deck, this is just really good. I just wanted to play 3 of each. And then you guys might be wondering, hey, what are these cards at the bottom? Well, I should mention here that Numeron Wall is just an option. If you guys wanted to play 3, you guys could play 3 as well. I just wanted to play 2 because I thought it was consistent enough. But if you guys wanted to play a 3rd, you can. Another option is for Lilith is for something like Sanctum. I should mention that. Now, I'm not playing Sanctum because I just thought it was a little bit overkill, a little bit excessive, a little bit redundant with the Zexal. Because once you summon Zexal, your opponent's not going to be really summoning from the extra deck anyways, mostly because they have no effects to use. So when your opponent really can't activate effects, I don't see ways for them to get into the extra deck really. I mean, obviously they can normal summon and make a link 1 if they wanted to, but again, how important is that? So that's why I was kind of thinking, I'm like, Sanctum with the Zexal might be a little bit too redundant, but again, if you guys wanted to, Sanctum works really well with Lilith, right? So if you guys wanted to, you could also cut Ice Dragon's Prison down to 2, play 2 Sanctum, and maybe cut this down to 2 as well, play 2 Sanctum, and then this way you can only play 2 of each, and either way, if you only play 2 of each, it's fine because you have the Lilith. So it's really up to you. Just another package that I thought was really good, but again, I thought it was a little bit redundant in this deck. But again, you can also cut, there can only be 1 if you wanted to do that with this. So there's so many options to play this deck. I just thought this was the best version of the deck at the moment. Now, obviously, if you guys have any suggestions or ideas, let me know in the comment section down below. You know how much I love when you guys talk to me and the community puts their ideas together. That's where I really get a lot of my motivation, is because I like to take a lot of ideas, see what's the best, see what's out there, and try to formulate my own decks. And through testing, I think this is the best version of that deck. But again, let me know in the comment section down below if you guys would change anything. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Again, 87%, bro. 87% are not subscribed. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video if you guys enjoyed. And with that, guys, Spanko signing out. Peace.
My hands steady, I feel ready, but my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises, you ain't stopping this. Cross my shit.